Hi, this video content discusses on the fundamentals of cloud computing. Um, it's prepared by me, Nimela K, SRM, Department of Information Technology, SRM University. So in today's video, we'll discuss on the basic concepts and terminologies used for cloud computing. So the various terms and concepts we need to understand in cloud computing. So basic concepts and the fundamental terms are wide in number. So I have just categorized into two sets. One basic concepts set 1 and basic concept set 2. Basic concept set 1 we'll discuss in this video, and basic concept set 2 will be discussed in the next video. Okay, so when you look at the fundamental terms required for cloud computing, they are described into 10 terms. You need to understand on the 10 terms. When you talk in terms of the primary fundamental terms, there are few in number. That is, one is IT resource, number 2 is virtualization, number 3 is scaling, number 4 is cloud, number 5 is on premise, number 6 is service, number 7 is cloud service, and number 8 is service agent. So in this video we'll discuss on the first three fundamental terms and its concepts. So moving on to the first fundamental term, or the primary terms that we need to understand, is the IT resource. An IT resource is nothing but a physical or a virtual IT related artifact. So when you talk in terms of IT resource, it is both the software as well as the hardware. So the following are common types of IT resources. There are around 8 IT resources do exist. Number 1 is the physical server, number 2 software program, number 3 storage device, number 4 virtual server, number 5 service, and number 6 network device. So in the term or in the concept of cloud computing, whenever we define IT resource or IT devices, they normally mean all these 6 devices. So the next fundamental term is virtualization. So this virtualization is nothing but it's a key technology, and we need to know about this term in elaborately. So when you talk in terms of virtualization, it means that it allows the physical IT resource to provide multiple virtual images of themselves, so that their underlying processing capabilities can be shared individually by multiple consumers. That is, the owner of the physical IT resource, it maintains a centralized administrative control, and intentionally it hides implementation details for the consumers of the virtual IT resources. In short, or as an abstraction of the physical IT resource, this virtualization, it allows consumers to use the provided virtual IT resources without any required knowledge of how the underlying physical IT resource exists or operates. So as consumer usage demands fluctuates, the owner of the physical IT resource can scale it accordingly. For example, when we look at any kind of a physical computer, it will often contain a single installation of OS that can be used by a single consumer. So any node with a single OS, you can you can virtualize it by having the same computer, and can provide multiple images of the same OS installation that can be independently used by multiple consumers. Okay, so the owner of the physical computer can retain all the administrative controls of the hardware and the base operation system environment, and the consumer of this virtual OS images can independently configure or control their respective virtual environments, but are not given access to the underlying physical environment. So by virtualization, for each and every virtual environment, we can install a separate OS, and we can independently configure and control that virtual machine, provided they are not given any access to the physical environment. So when we talk in terms of this virtualization, it is an established area of technology that emerged long before cloud computing. So this virtualization technology already do exist. So within the cloud environment, virtualization technology is primarily utilized to replicate the multiple virtual images of the same physical server for remote access by consumers. That is, when you just look into the diagram or the picture that is depicted at the right bottom corner, we have two physical server and we have around three virtual servers. Actually, virtual servers could be n number. So all these virtual servers, it emulates a physical computer, meaning it is a form of virtualization software that emulates a physical computer or a physical server, and each and every physical server can host multiple virtual servers. So if you just look at the physical server number one, it has got two virtual servers. Each virtual servers can have a different operating systems, and the consumer or the user can have a full control on the virtual server independently, such that but the only thing is they cannot have an access to the physical server which is represented. Okay, so to a cloud consumer, a virtual server appears as an independent physical server. So I think that is enough with the concept of virtualization. We'll move on to the next fundamental terms called as scaling. Okay, so scaling is another term that you need to understand in the area of cloud computing. Scaling is nothing but it is an IT from an IT resource perspective. It represents the ability of the IT resource to gracefully handle the increase or the decrease of usage demands. That is, scaling literally talks about the fluctuating usage of demands. The term scaling is categorized into two types. One is horizontal scaling and another is vertical scaling. So under horizontal scaling, we have scale out and scale in. Under vertical scaling, we have scaling up and scale down. So when we look at the horizontal scaling, it refers to the allocation or releasing of resources of the same type. The horizontal allocation of resource is referred to as scaling out, and the horizontal releasing of resources is referred to as scaling in. Horizontal scaling is a common form of scaling within cloud environment. That is, you have a single physical, two physical servers, and you have n number of virtual servers for the given physical servers. That is, you allocate or release the resources of the same type. Here it is a server. Okay, so when you talk in terms of scaling, when you talk in terms of vertical scaling, it occurs when an existing resource is replaced by another. That is, when you look at the picture here, the CPUs are replaced with two CPUs are replaced with four CPUs. That is, replacing of an IT resource with another that has a higher capacity is referred to as scaling up, and replacing an IT resource with another that has a lower capacity is referred to as scaling down. So here we scale up and scale down based on the capacity of usage. So vertical scaling is less common in cloud environment due to the downtime required while the replacement is taking place. So when you discuss on so far we have discussed on scaling both the horizontal and the vertical scaling. Now in this slide we will discuss on the comparative study of both horizontal and vertical scaling. See, horizontal scaling, when you take as a criteria as a term called as cost, horizontal scaling is less expensive, but whereas vertical scaling is more expensive, because here we go with more specialized servers, And when you look at the criteria based on the resources, here it is available